There was a time when one empire controlled oceans, continents, and unimaginable wealth. An empire whose ships carried gold, silver, spices, and slaves across the seas. An empire that discovered new worlds and destroyed ancient civilizations. This empire didn't just rule land. It reshaped global trade, religion, culture, and power. This was the Spanish Empire. At its peak, Spain ruled territories in Europe, the Americas, Africa, and Asia. It was the first truly global empire in human history. But its rise was violent. Its wealth was soaked in blood. And its fall was as dramatic as its rise. This is the complete story of the Spanish Empire, how it rose through conquest, how gold made it powerful, and how that same gold led to its destruction. The story begins in the late 15th century with the marriage of Isabella, the first of Castile, and Ferdinand, the second of Aragon. This union didn't just create modern Spain. It lit the fuse for global expansion. Their final victory against the Moors in Granada in 1492 freed up resources and ambition. That same year, a Genoese sailor named Christopher Columbus convinced them to fund a risky voyage west, seeking a new route to the riches of Asia. He didn't find Asia, but he stumbled upon a new world, the Americas. This accidental discovery would change the course of history forever. Soon, Spanish conquistadors, men like Hernán Cortés and Francisco Pizarro, followed. Driven by a hunger for gold, glory, and God, they led small but determined armies against the vast Aztec and Inca empires. Armed with steel, horses, and deadly diseases, to which the native populations had no immunity, they toppled civilizations that had thrived for centuries. The fall of Tenochtitlan and Cusco poured staggering amounts of gold and silver into Spain's treasury. The Potosi silver mine in modern-day Bolivia alone produced so much wealth it could have paved a bridge of silver from there to Madrid. This influx of treasure made Spain the wealthiest and most powerful nation in Europe. With this newfound power, Spain built a global empire. The Spanish Armada was the most feared navy on the seas, and its territories stretched from California to the Philippines. This was the empire on which the sun never set. But this golden age had a dark side. The immense wealth created massive inflation, crippling Spain's own economy. Wars in Europe, funded by American silver, drained the treasury. The reliance on colonial wealth stifled domestic industry. Spain became a giant with feet of clay, rich on the outside but weak on the inside. By the 19th century, revolutions in its American colonies and defeat in European wars signaled the end. The great empire crumbled, leaving behind a complex legacy of language, culture, and conflict that still shapes our world today. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into history. See you next time. Did you know that before Spain became a globe-spanning empire, it wasn't even a single country? For centuries, the Iberian Peninsula was a patchwork of rival kingdoms. In the north, you had several Christian states, while the south was ruled by various Muslim powers. And guess what? They were almost always at war with each other. This long drawn-out conflict is known as the Reconquista, a centuries-long struggle for control of the peninsula. This constant warfare forged the very soul of what would become Spain. It created a powerful drive for religious unity, a battle-hardened military mindset, and a relentless ambition for expansion. For these early Spaniards, war was a normal part of life, and conquest was the ultimate goal. This unique history set the stage for Spain's incredible rise to global power. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Have you ever wondered what makes a single year so important that it changes history forever? Well, 1492 was one of those years. 3 massive events happened that completely reshaped the world. First, after centuries of conflict, the final Muslim kingdom in Granada, Spain, was defeated. This unified Spain under Christian rule for the first time in ages. With the long war over, Spain had a powerful, battle-hardened army and ambitious leaders eager for their next move. Then, a man named Christopher Columbus, sailing under the Spanish flag, headed west across the Atlantic. When he returned with tales of new lands, Spain saw its chance. It wasn't just about finding gold or new trade routes. It was about building an empire. The events of 1492 set the stage for Spain to become a global superpower and kicked off a whole new era of exploration and conquest. Thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe for more history facts. Ever wondered how a few hundred soldiers could topple an empire of millions? Let's talk about the Spanish conquistadors. These weren't massive armies. They were small, ruthless groups of adventurers, armed to the teeth with technology unseen in the Americas. Steel swords, deafening guns, and powerful horses gave them an incredible advantage. They also carried a powerful belief that their mission was blessed by God. Take Hernan Cortes. He marched into the heart of the mighty Aztec Empire with just a few hundred men. The Aztecs were a vast and sophisticated civilization, but they were also plagued by internal conflict. Many subjugated peoples hated their Aztec rulers. Cortes exploited these divisions, forming crucial alliances. Combined with the devastating impact of European diseases and superior weaponry, the result was catastrophic for the Aztecs. Their magnificent capital, Tenochtitlan, fell, and an entire civilization crumbled. It's a stark reminder of how history can turn on a knife's edge. Thanks for watching. Ever heard of a king being ransomed for a room full of gold? It's a true story, and it's wild. In South America, the mighty Inca Empire stood rich, organized, and powerful. But then Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro arrived. Before his soldiers even drew their swords, an invisible enemy had already struck: European diseases, which decimated the Inca population. Then came betrayal. Pizarro invited the Inca Emperor Atahualpa to a meeting and captured him. The ransom? A room, 22 feet long and 17 feet wide, filled once with gold and twice over with silver. The Incas paid it. They delivered tons of precious metals, but Spain didn't keep its promise. They took the treasure and executed the emperor anyway. This tragic event marked the beginning of the end for one of history's greatest empires. For more incredible stories like this, make sure to subscribe. Have you ever heard of the saying, more money, more problems? Well, for 16th century Spain, this couldn't be more true. It all started when they discovered massive silver mines in places like Potosi in modern-day Bolivia. Suddenly, ships packed with treasure were sailing back to Spain, flooding Europe with so much silver it was unbelievable. Spain became the richest and most powerful empire on the planet. Their kings thought they were chosen by God, that this wealth was their divine right. But here's the twist. This incredible fortune actually weakened them. Instead of using the money to build factories or innovate, they just bought everything they needed. They relied on conquest, not creation. The gold and silver created a life of comfort, but that comfort bred complacency. Spain's golden age was built on treasure, but it forgot to build a future. A powerful lesson in history, right? Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. You've probably heard of the British Empire as the empire on which the sun never sets, right? Well, what if I told you they weren't the first? Long before the British, that title belonged to Spain. That's right. The Spanish Empire was so vast, it was always daylight somewhere in its territory. Think about it. They had huge swaths of the Americas, from modern-day California all the way down to the tip of South America. But it didn't stop there. They also ruled the Philippines and Asia, and held ports across Africa and parts of Europe. For the very first time in history, territories all around the globe were connected under a single flag. It was a truly global empire that linked continents and cultures in a way the world had never seen before. So next time you hear that famous phrase, remember it was Spain that first created an empire where the sun truly never set. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more cool history facts. When the Spanish conquistadors sailed to the Americas, they didn't just bring soldiers and swords. They brought the cross. Spain saw itself as the ultimate defender of the Catholic faith, and this belief shaped the very foundation of its new empire. Missionaries often traveled alongside soldiers, but their mission wasn't one of peaceful exchange. Instead, vibrant and ancient native cultures were systematically dismantled. Entire languages, which held centuries of history and knowledge, were erased. People were forced to convert, often under the threat of violence. And to enforce this new order, the notorious Spanish Inquisition was established. It became a terrifying tool to punish anyone who dared to question the Church's authority. In this new world, religion wasn't just about faith. It was a powerful weapon of control, used to subjugate millions. Thanks for watching, and if you found this interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Have you ever wondered what really powered the vast Spanish Empire? It's a dark and complex story. When the Spanish arrived in the Americas, they brought more than just ships and soldiers. They brought diseases that the native populations had no immunity to, leading to catastrophic loss of life. But it wasn't just disease. Millions were subjected to brutal forced labor in mines and on plantations, and faced unimaginable violence. The empire's insatiable hunger for wealth was built on a foundation of exploitation. As native populations dwindled, the Spanish turned to another horrific solution: the transatlantic slave trade, bringing millions of Africans to the Americas to replace the labor force. The immense riches that flowed back to Spain, the gold, the silver, all came at the cost of immense human suffering. It's a crucial, tragic part of history we must remember. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more deep dives into our shared past. Have you ever heard of the Spanish Armada? For a long time, Spain was like the heavyweight champion of the world. They were rich, powerful, and everyone was scared of their navy. But here's the thing about being at the top: everyone wants to take you down. Spain found itself fighting wars on all fronts, battling England, France, and even the Netherlands. All these conflicts were incredibly expensive and started to drain their treasury dry. Then came the big one. Their famous, invincible Spanish Armada sailed to attack England and was completely destroyed. It was a total disaster for Spain. This massive defeat was the turning point. It showed the world that Spain was no longer unbeatable. The cracks in their empire were starting to show, and their golden age was coming to a dramatic end. What do you think was their biggest mistake? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more history stories. Imagine this: Spanish ships, loaded with tons of gold and silver from the Americas, arrive home. Everyone thinks Spain is set for life, right? Well, not exactly. This flood of treasure actually triggered a massive economic crisis. Think about it. When you suddenly have way more money chasing the same amount of goods, what happens? Prices go through the roof. This was one of history's first major battles with inflation. While Spain was busy spending its newfound riches on imported luxuries and endless wars, other countries like England and the Netherlands were getting smart. They used the Spanish gold they earned through trade to build up their own industries, textiles, shipbuilding, you name it. So Spain was drowning in gold, but producing almost nothing. It was rich on paper, but weak in reality. A powerful lesson in economics from the 16th century. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Ever wondered how a massive empire can just crumble? Let's talk about Spain. For centuries, they were a global superpower, but then things started to go wrong. Imagine trying to rule territories thousands of miles away with just ships and letters. The huge distance made it nearly impossible for Spain to keep a tight grip on its colonies, and those colonies started getting restless, wanting their own freedom. Back in Madrid, things weren't much better. Corruption was rampant, like a disease, weakening the government from the inside out. Plus, the quality of leadership took a nosedive. The powerful kings of the past were replaced by weaker rulers who just couldn't handle the pressure. Put it all together, and Spain's once mighty empire was simply too big and too broken to hold on. It's a classic story of how even the greatest powers can fall. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more history breakdowns. Have you ever wondered how Spain, once a global superpower, lost almost all of its American colonies in just a few decades? It's a wild story that starts with one man, Napoleon Bonaparte. In 1808, Napoleon invaded Spain and put his own brother on the Spanish throne. This threw the entire Spanish Empire into chaos. Back in the Americas, from Mexico down to Argentina, the colonies saw their chance. They thought, if Spain can't even rule itself, why should it rule us? This was the spark that ignited a fire of revolution. Independence movements, which had been simmering for years, suddenly exploded. Leaders like Simon Bolivar and José de San Martin rose up, leading armies against Spanish forces. One by one, the colonies declared their freedom. It was a domino effect that Spain couldn't stop. Within about 20 years, a 300-year-old empire had crumbled. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more history shorts. You've heard of the empire on which the sun never sets, right? For a long time, that was Spain. From the Americas to the Philippines, their flag flew over a vast global empire. They had legendary naval power, the Spanish Armada, and their galleons were filled with unimaginable treasures from the New World. They were the world's first true superpower, shaping global culture, language, and trade for centuries. But by the 19th century, the cracks began to show. Wars, revolutions, and internal strife took their toll. One by one, their colonies in the Americas fought for and won their independence. Their once mighty navy was defeated, and with it, their global influence faded. The empire that had once ruled the world slowly crumbled, becoming a shadow of its former glory, a powerful memory in the pages of history. What happened? We'll dive deeper into the reasons for Spain's decline in our next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Hey everyone, ever wonder how our modern world got to be the way it is? A huge piece of that puzzle is the legacy of the Spanish Empire. Think about it. They left behind a language spoken by hundreds of millions of people across continents. Spanish isn't just a language. It's a global connector. They also carved out some of the first truly global trade routes, linking Europe, the Americas, and Asia like never before. This epic exchange wasn't just about goods. It sparked an incredible fusion of cultures, creating new foods, new music, and new traditions. Of course, this expansion also left deep, painful scars that are still felt today. The story is complex, but one thing is certain. The world we know was profoundly shaped by this historical powerhouse. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into history. For 3 centuries, Spain was the undisputed master of the world. From the Americas to the Philippines, its empire was the first on which the sun never set. They controlled mountains of gold and silver, fueling an age of unprecedented power. But this treasure became their curse. While Spain was busy spending its riches on wars and luxury, other nations were investing in innovation, industry, and new ideas. Spain built an empire on extraction, not creation. They conquered lands, but failed to build a sustainable economy. Ultimately, the very gold that made them powerful also made them rigid and unable to adapt. The Spanish Empire, a giant with feet of clay, teaches us a timeless lesson. True strength isn't about the wealth you can take, but the value you can create. Conquest is temporary, but innovation endures. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this piece of history, don't forget to like and subscribe.